Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm Jano Lieber, the acting chair and CEO of the MTA. I'm happy to be here in Westbury with my colleagues, Long Island Railroad President Phil Eng, MTA Chief Accessibility Officer Cumelo Arroyo, and many of the folks who have been key partners for the MTA in the third track project on the garage. A great friend, Nassau County Executive Laura Curran, Smart Union General Chairman Anthony Simon, always an important partner for us on all of our Long Island Railroad construction and operational activities, MTA Board Member Kevin Law, and Town of North Hempstead Council Member Viviana Russell, as well as Westbury Village Trustee Stephen Corte and Bill Mello, who is the building inspector of the Village of Westbury and who made it happen. Somebody who's not here with us, but who is really an important person in this project was Westbury Mayor Peter Cavallaro, who has really been a visionary behind all this project and an incredible partner. And I just want to acknowledge that he actually said to us, I have a conflict, I can't be there on the day, but you ought to go ahead because this project needs to keep moving. So huge thank you to Mayor Cavallaro in his absence. Today we're going to celebrate the opening of a brand new 4-story garage, which was built on the site of a pre-existing surface commuter parking lot. The new garage is fully ADA accessible, has 683 spaces total, and 376 of them are reserved for Village of Westbury residents. The others are just going to be daily metered slots available to the public. This is going to help us accommodate a future increase in capacity once the Long Island Railroad expansion project, commonly known as Third Track, is completed. That's the whole point of Third Track. We're going to run more trains and give more service because with the Third Track, we're enabled to do that safely and reliably. I want to thank the construction workers and the teams from the contractors, MTA C&D, and the Long Island Railroad who have continued to move the entire project and this garage project in particular on time and on budget despite the challenges of COVID. How many projects in our society today we hear constantly about broken supply chains and how no automobiles are available because of the problems with chip purchases and manufacture and distribution. But let me tell you, the MTA construction projects are on time and on budget despite COVID, and this is a model. Third Track also continues to be a model of how the MTA can deliver its entire program faster and less expensively through the use of design build. And Westbury commuters have a lot to look forward to, including total platform replacement to accommodate the new Third Track between Floral Park and Hicksville, ADA upgrades including elevators, ramps, and overpasses, new platform canopies and furnishings, Wi-Fi, USB charging stations, digital information displays, new bike racks, and artwork. All of these elements of the project and of the improvements at Westbury were based on community feedback, and this project has excelled in how it deals with the communities. We are building this amazing complex project in one of the most developed parts of Long Island, and as all of these Long Island leaders know, that creates community challenges, and we have stayed close to the community throughout to make sure people understood the benefits and that we were working with them to minimize the inconveniences. One aspect of this project that I need to emphasize is that because we are developing this high-density garage, structured parking facility, it enabled us to do transit-oriented development. This is something that many of us, led by the county executive, have been talking about for some time, which is what we want to take advantage of areas where we have opportunities to do a little bit of multifamily development close to train stations and close to transportation facilities in general to create more dynamic village and downtown and town centers, more walkable areas, and also a sustainable model of development. So as a result of this project in part, we are doing a project that is right in the middle of an RFP right now for multifamily development on the south parking lot. And that'll give folks who are young people who are just starting out and want to live in an apartment before they move to a house and start their families, and also seniors who want to get out of a larger house but stay in their community. That will be really important to their future and their ability to stay in those communities. So, important element of this project. We need to keep working to modernize mass transit. The MTA is the key to rebuilding the regional economy. New York doesn't happen without the MTA, and we are going to be ready to support Long Island's recovery as it accelerates in the next couple of months. So thank you all for being here, and with that, let me turn it over to County Executive Curran. Laura?
Thank you very much, Jono, and thank you for being here on day one of this garage being open. So there are close to 700 spots in this, and as you can see, you can check your Long Island Railroad app, Phil just told me, before you leave your house and see how many spots are available. So if anyone's in Westbury, you want to take the train, there are 535 spots available. So come on down and park. This is really exciting, and something that Jono said, this was done on time and on budget. I think that cannot be stressed enough. In the age of COVID, a complicated world right now, the fact that this is getting done, honestly, this is what a successful partnership looks like. The MTA, working with Anthony Simon and his team, working with our Department of Public Works, working with the Village of Westbury, and we have Steve Corte and Bill Wise here, two trustees from the Village of Westbury. And let's not forget, we are in the town of North Hempstead. We are many layers of municipalities that really need to work together, so Wayne Wink, town clerk, is here as well. And I am incredibly proud of the MTA team for getting this done on time and on budget. I also can't stress enough the importance of transit-oriented development, which is something that Jano touched upon. This train station is really important. It's a very important stop on the main line, which, as you can see right now, the third track is being built. It will encourage more apartments. It will encourage density where it makes sense. It will draw more people here. It will keep more people in our beautiful communities in Nassau County. And clearly, they're going to need a place to park. There's going to be some issues. This helps solve that. It all works together to make Nassau County more economically vibrant, more of the place where everyone wants to be. And I am really heartened by Jano and his team for getting this done. Can't stress it enough. On time, on budget. It is exactly what we need at exactly the right time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, County Executive. I think what everyone's going to hear is very common themes across all of us, because this project does show the true team effort that's required. With MTA, C&D, the design-build team of 3TC, all our local elected officials and the communities that they represent. I also want to acknowledge the vital role that the Long Island Railroad workforce played in the successful delivery of this project, along with our partnership with all of our labor leaders, including Anthony Simon, who's here with us today, working hand in hand with us as we build a better Long Island Railroad. And while Westbury Mayor Peter Cavallaro couldn't make it here today, I want to thank him for his dedication throughout this project from the very early stages of the environmental process. I recall back in 2016, during the initial outreach, the mayor's open dialogue with us in regards to this project and the needs of the community. Because of this open dialogue between all of these important stakeholders and working together, we've been able to accomplish big things for Long Island Railroad customers here and with all our other communities that we serve. In order to get more people out of their cars and onto public transportation, we recognize the need for adequate parking at our stations, and we're thrilled to have this garage as part of our transportation network solutions. One feature that I'd like to highlight, as County Executive Curran mentioned, the car counting feature and the ability for our riders to see how many parking spaces are available in the lot before they leave for the station. This was a frustration that I heard from many customers, that they didn't know if there would be any space left for them at the station before they left their house. But now that worry is no longer there. This has been incorporated into the Long Island Railroad Train Time app and is available today as part of our continuing effort to give customers real-time information to make their travels easier and less stressful. As communities across Long Island continue to see the great benefits and vibrancy of local downtowns that have embraced transit-oriented development, we're proud to be alongside them, planning, and building not just for now but for future generations, as this garage serves both the railroad and downtown businesses, the kind of downtowns that I can envision my children wanting to live, work, and spend time in the future. A big thanks goes out to all involved here, the Long Island Railroad expansion project as a whole. We're truly revolutionizing the way Long Island and New York gets around. It only gets better from here as we look towards the completion of this project and the opening of Long Island Railroad service to Grand Central next year. I'm proud of all these accomplishments as we make the railroad more reliable, safer, and more convenient for the public that we serve. We've done not just big things, but meaningful things, with more to come. So thank you to the public, thank you to our customers for all your support as we build a world-class system that they deserve. And we look forward to seeing more riders return on the trains. And now I'd like to turn it over to Anthony Simon to say a few words.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Jano, for your leadership in capital construction and now as CEO and chair. And Phil, for your leadership with the Long Island Railroad. This just proves that during the toughest times that we faced during COVID, we continued. We kept coming out, we kept building, we kept making it better, but it was all for the commuters. And we could not have done that without the support of our great county executive, Laura Curran, who has been on the ground every day asking questions, trying to get these projects done. A true example of a leader for Nassau County and a good friend of labor. And speaking of labor, we have tons of people here to thank. You cannot do this without labor. You cannot do it without the workforce. There's a lot of teams put together. There's a lot of people involved. But this proves that we can continue working collaboratively together with labor and with management to get the job done. It's very important to understand that the MTA lost a lot of people during COVID, yet we never stopped. And we take a quick look during these times where COVID is so rampant still and we're not out of the woods. Let's not forget our MTA Police Department that stand with us every day and protect us from everything that's going on so that we can get this work done. So we thank you for what you have done and thank you all for coming today. It's a great day.
Q.
Thank you, Jano. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. My name is Quimel Arroyo, and I have the pleasure to serve as the MTA's very first Chief Accessibility Officer. A special thanks to Phil and your team at Long Island Railroad for enhancing service and leading on accessibility. Accessibility has many faces for us at the MTA. Yes, it's audible announcements on buses and trains. Yes, it is wider doors and flip-up seats. But for many of our commuters, including those with disabilities, accessibility relies on a safe, well-lit, and accessible garage where they can leave their vehicles and continue on with their commutes. The accessibility features at this station are a major plus for everyone. Enhanced lighting, 21 accessible vehicle spots, and fully accessible garage with 2 elevators. I'm so proud of the way that the MTA is modernizing to create a more inclusive system that leaves no one behind. And I'm glad to see such a robust level of community engagement in these projects. As Jano said, Long Island needs an accessible public transport to power its recovery from the pandemic and carry millions back to work, to culture centers, schools, and entertainment. Residents and visitors with disabilities, and so many others that need and benefit from accessibility features, like parents with strollers, seniors with mobility difficulties, must be included in this revival. The upcoming improvements to the Westbury Station and others along the main line, which Jano mentioned, are great starting points, and I can't wait to keep moving forward. Thank you.
So that's going to wrap up the program. I want to acknowledge a couple folks I think the county executive mentioned, but they are important to all of us. Bill Wise, village trustee, and Wayne Wink, the town of North Hempstead town clerk. So thank you both for being here. This was the first major project that I visited when I came to the MTA and took over construction and development, and we were lifting the bridge over on Post Avenue, and it was a challenge. It was the first time we had done a bridge like that in a weekend, and it was a challenging project. But the excitement, it was the first major step towards the third track. And the excitement that was building is now manifest. If we had told everybody that we were going to be here a couple of years later on the verge of completing this amazing project on time and on budget, waited for by the people of Nassau County, talked about in Newsday for over 50 or 60 years, and that we would be here today on the verge of completing it, I think we would all be thrilled. A lot to be proud of, and I just want to thank everybody who's here and all of our partners who are represented behind me for getting us to this point. We got another year and a bit to go, but we're going to get it done, and thank you in advance for your continued support. Questions?
One on topic and then one off topic, if you don't mind. On topic, you talk about the projection of ridership growth here. Obviously, when this garage was planned, things were a lot different. Are you still confident that all these spaces will be needed?
Well, I think nobody has a crystal ball about how quickly ridership is going to come back, but the projections that we have made show that the commuter railroad ridership is going to take a couple years, but it is going to come back. And what the third track project is delivering is the ability to do much more reliable surface, the incredible safety benefits of eliminating all those grade crossings, having the capacity to run true reverse commuting service for the first time in anybody's memory on the Long Island Railroad. These are huge benefits. So we're not depending on the exact pace of ridership return to justify this project. There's so many other reasons, but we're also confident with the dynamic Long Island economy and that we're seeing that the ridership is going to come back, and we need to be ready, and this project makes that certain.
And then off topic, I'd be interested in hearing from you and/or Phil and also Anthony on this. I heard a lot from riders about mass compliance on the Long Island Railroad the last few weeks, how it's really fallen off quite a bit. I know you've said 98% was the number, I guess, back in April. I'm interested in what the latest numbers are, if you've measured compliance lately, and how big a problem is mass compliance throughout the system, particularly on the Long Island Railroad, and what can be done about it?
Well, I'm going to invite Phil to comment, but I'll tell you this, that we're redoubling our efforts to communicate about the importance of mass. In fairness, during that period when we were all getting vaccinated so quickly and people were starting to get more comfortable, masks became less of a thing outside of transit, but masks are still very much required on transit, and we're going to continue to communicate to riders that that's important, using all of the resources, the digital signage, the announcements. We're doing them every 10 to 15 minutes on platforms, on trains, and so on. And we're going to redouble our efforts because, obviously, with the Delta variant afoot, we all need to be careful. But there's no reason that you can't travel safely with mask compliance, and we're going to make sure it happens. Phil?
Thank you, Jano. As Jano said, we doubled up our efforts with regards to messaging. The one thing I will say is that when mask requirements were relaxed in many other areas aside from mass transportation, I think that's when we saw a decline in mass usage. However, since then, as people are beginning to realize that there is still the Delta variant to be concerned about, I personally have seen an increase in usage. Having said that, though, we're working very closely with our partners at MTA PD, with MTA Communications. The messaging has increased. The on-train, on-platforms, and station announcements have been increasing. We've had MTA PD riding specific trains. Whenever we get feedback from customers, we send MTA PD and managers out. And we've continued to enhance messaging in our stations. So, for instance, Penn Station, as you go in now and you enter the Long Island Railroad concourse area, you'll see signs that are reminding people, which is easier to get them when they enter the station than when they're already in the station. So those are the kinds of efforts we're doing. We're going to continue to be vigilant. Having said that, I know that you can ride the train safely. I do it every day. And I am confident that people will begin to start wearing masks again as we continue to ramp that effort up.
As much as a lot of the criticism is directed towards conductors for not enforcing enough.
Sure, it's a great question, right? So people have to understand that these crews and the police at the MTA have been coming in every day. You're putting them in harm's way. We're asking you to comply. We're asking you, we know that you have a personal preference and we respect that, But as the numbers are starting to tick up, these conductors, we've lost 168 members at the MTA alone. And we're just asking you to be respectful of that and understand that and put your mask on. The compliance is down. But what happens is when the conductors approach them, it begins a confrontation, which we're trying to avoid, which then brings the police into the mix, which then it gets, a little bit confrontational for them. And then we need support. We need support from everybody to understand that these masks are saving lives. We understand the vaccines, we understand the testing, and some people may not believe in it. But believe me, the masks are helping, and these frontline crews, they have to go home to their families. They want to stay healthy. We want to stay healthy. So we're asking you to comply. The messaging, the unions are working with Phil and with Jano, even with County Executive Laura Curran on mask compliance. It's important. Understand how important it is. It's somebody's life that you're putting in your own hands by jeopardizing that. So your personal beliefs are your personal beliefs, but respect the conductors and frontline people who are out there doing their jobs, who never stop doing their jobs. Move this city, move this island. So mask compliance is down. We're asking you to go back to putting your mask on, at least while the uptick is here, and we'll monitor it day by day.
Yes. Are there plans to put charging stations inside the garage for what looks like a future of electric vehicles? And two, residents of surrounding communities have complained that they don't get a chance to get yearly commutation tickets. They're forced to pay the daily rate. Are there any plans to maybe include surrounding communities in the yearly commutation rate?
Sure. So one of the things that obviously we've been working on is to make sure that all of the public has opportunities to use any of our stations, right? This station here, as you can see, is now mixed. It's the first two levels are permit parking for village residents, but it's also open to non-village residents. There is a $6 fee for a 20-hour parking. That's a very reasonable fee. It's comparable to what we have at Mineola. We are working with other partners, and we're exploring other opportunities for different types of travel as well, including possibly electric vehicles in the future. So those are the things that are still in discussion at many locations. Right now, there's no plan for this station to have electric charging, but that doesn't mean that opportunity won't arise as we have those conversations, because we know the future is more clean, more efficient fuel type vehicles. So we're going to keep working on those areas. But the goal is to make sure that people have accessibility to all of our stations, whether it's a daily fee, a nominal daily fee, or through their village permits. And that's why this station has as many spots as it does, to ensure that we have the flexibility to serve multiple people. That's true. The parking lots are free on the weekends, so that is something that we want to encourage, because these local downtowns do enjoy a lot of visitors from not only across Long Island but from the city. And as the local downtowns continue to build up and thrive, we look to have more getaway packages to support use on the weekends.
Thank you. Thanks. We're going to do a ribbon cutting. Two. Ooh.